What if I told you that the biggest threat to your brain's long-term health wasn't something you could see or feel, but a kind of hidden fat deep inside your body? Well, today we're diving into a massive new study that uncovers a really surprising link between a specific type of body fat and the health of your brain.
So let's start with a big question. Is all body fat created equal? I mean, does the fat you can pinch on your arm have the same effect on your brain as the fat you can't even see? It's a great question, and as it turns out, the answer might just change how you think about your health.
Okay, so to get our heads around this, we need to talk about two very different kinds of fat. First, you've got subcutaneous fat. That's the stuff right under your skin, the kind you can actually pinch. But then there's visceral fat. This is the sneaky, hidden fat that wraps itself around your vital organs, like your liver and your intestines. And this visceral fat, that's the star of our show today. To really figure out what this hidden fat was up to, researchers launched an absolutely epic investigation. And I mean epic. We are not talking about some small, short-term experiment here.
What's so incredible here is just the sheer scale of it all. This study was a follow-up to 4 separate, really big diet trials. Researchers tracked people for up to 16 years after the original studies ended. That is a massive commitment. And they used powerful imaging to see exactly what was happening inside their bodies and inside their brains. And get this, we're not talking about just a handful of people. The final analysis included 533 adults who went through detailed brain MRI scans. That gave the scientists a ton of rich, real-world data to work with.
So how'd they pull it off? Let's break it down. First, all these people joined one of 4 big diet studies. During those studies, scientists used MRIs to get a super precise measurement of their body fat. Then, years later, we're talking anywhere from 5 to 16 years, they followed up again, this time measuring their brain volume and testing their cognitive function. It's an incredibly rigorous way to do science. Okay, so that's the setup. Now let's get to the good part. What did this massive study actually find? This is where we uncover the real culprit in the story of brain aging.
But first, a quick definition for a term you're going to hear: brain atrophy. Now, it sounds a little intimidating, but it's really just the gradual loss of brain cells over time, which causes the brain to slowly get smaller. It's a natural part of aging, but the speed at which it happens can vary a lot, and that's exactly what these scientists were looking at.
And here it is, the headline finding. The study revealed a clear, straight-up link. The more visceral fat a person carried over the long term, the faster their brain was shrinking. In other words, more of this hidden fat meant your brain was aging more quickly.
And let's look at the hard data, because it really tells the story. Check out this table. It doesn't matter if we're looking at the total brain, the gray matter where we do our thinking, or the white matter that connects everything, the pattern is the same. The group with the fastest brain decline consistently had way more visceral fat than the group with the slowest decline. The numbers are pretty stark. But hold on, because this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn. You might be thinking, okay, more visceral fat probably just means you weigh more, right? Well, not so fast.
This is the key. The researchers found that this powerful connection between visceral fat and brain health was still there even after they accounted for a person's overall weight, their BMI. This means it's not just about how much you weigh, it's about where that fat is located. This hidden fat is its own unique risk factor for the brain.
And here it is, the aha moment, straight from the study itself. When they re-ran the numbers but swapped out visceral fat for BMI, poof, the connection disappeared. BMI by itself had no significant link to brain size. That really tells you everything. It's not about the number on the scale, it's about this specific hidden fat. So, this is all really cool science, but let's get practical. What does this actually mean for us, for you and me? What can we do to defend our brains?
And this is probably the most hopeful part of the entire study. It turns out the people who actually lost visceral fat during those original diet trials, years later they had bigger, more preserved brain volumes. This suggests that if you reduce this specific type of fat, you could be giving your brain some serious, long-lasting protection. All right. Let's boil this whole thing down to the key takeaways. Number 1, that hidden visceral fat is a major driver of how fast our brains age. 2, for your brain structure, this fat matters more than your overall weight or your BMI. 3, actively reducing visceral fat is linked to slowing down that brain shrinkage over the long haul. And finally, how does it work? Well, it seems like a big part of this brain protection comes from getting blood sugar under control, which is another known factor in brain health.
So we'll leave you with this one last thought. As you think about your own long-term health, this research really forces us all to ask a new question. To protect your brain for years and years to come, are you fighting the right battle? Maybe it's time to stop worrying so much about the scale and start fighting the right fat.